If you're going to church once or twice a week, once on Wednesday for Bible study, and then you're going on Sunday to church and coming home and eating pancakes, then you're not a Christian. Biblical Christianity requires productivity. You're not a Christian unless you're going out and making disciples in all the world. That's being a Christian. Being a Christian is not sitting home, going to work, going to church twice a week, listening to some guy read some scripture verses, and then going home and eating pancakes. You're not a Christian if you're doing that. Being a Christian requires to go out to all nations, to go out to all people and make disciples. You're supposed to be making disciples of all nations. Being a Christian requires being educated. You have to be scholarly in understanding scripture. That's why we have the university system. If you're not learning and earning degrees and studying the Bible, you're not a Christian. If you're not going out and making disciples of other people, then you're not a Christian. Simple. You being a Christian, if you're just going to these churches, listening to some guy sit up there and read Bible verses and humming a tune and going home, you're not a Christian. If you're not being persecuted, you're not a Christian. If you're not getting fired from your job for talking about Jesus, you're not a Christian. You would be hated of all nations. If you're conforming to the things of this world and not talking about Jesus at work and where you're not supposed to talk about him, then you're not a Christian. Okay? There's so many people out there that think they're Christian and they're not. These pastors, 99.9%, don't believe in the scriptures. They believe in benefiting from the scriptures, but they're not making disciples of anybody. And if you're going along with that, then you're not saved. You're not a Christian. Being a Christian requires productivity. That's why we have the United States. The evangelicals, Christopher Columbus was an evangelical. He sailed across the ocean to spread Christianity. That's called being a Christian. Putting your life on the line to furtherance of the gospel is what being a Christian is. Okay, if you're not doing that, then don't tell me about you being a Christian. You're supposed to be raising up disciples, you're supposed to be making disciples of all nations. If you're sitting there keeping people down, telling them how great you are because you are a supposed pastor of this building they call a church, and you're going out doing charity, you're not a Christian. That's not what Christianity is about. Christianity is about raising people up, making disciples. Do you know what a disciple is? That's what being a Christian is about. Study the Protestant Reformation. That's where we got missionaries to fulfill the Great Commission. Okay? Unless you're doing that, you're not a Christian. If you're sitting at home conforming to society, you're not a Christian. You're not. And 90% of people today call themselves Christians aren't Christians. If you're sitting there getting high and getting drunk, and then at the end of and then just going and reading the Bible to soothe yourself, and you're not going out making disciples, you're not a Christian. And Christianity requires you to go out to the poor, to the nations, to whomever, and make disciples, not just pass out bread and pass out this and pass out that and say how great you are. That's not being a Christian. You're not a Christian. You may be a philanthropist, but you're not a Christian. Christianity has a purpose to raise up disciples. If you're not bringing that person up to be where you are, then you're not a Christian. That's not biblical. That's not biblical Christianity. That's a different gospel. That's a different Jesus. So get it right. I mean, stop sitting here and calling yourself a Christian when you don't do anything that Christians are called to do in the Bible.